Welcome to Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Brought to you by our title sponsor, Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. Come along with us as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. We have partnered with Mountain Tough Fitness Lab to help get you in shape and mentally stronger. Whether you're a veteran hunter or just starting out, the Mountain Tough app will take you to the next level. We personally train using the Mountain Tough programs, and we believe in it so much that we want to give you 6 weeks for free using code SHEEPBC. That's SHEEPBC. Check out Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. You won't be disappointed. Well, here we are. It's a lovely Tuesday morning, and I'm rocking it old school with none other than the frickin' legend, Peter Gutsche. Good to see you, buddy.
Likewise, Kyle. Always good to be chatting with you, and we do a bunch of it off the airwaves as well, but good to sit down for another podcast and just dig into whatever we decide to get into here.
Yeah, fill our listeners' ears with a bunch of baloney and tell a bunch of lies. No, I'm just kidding. It's always good to sit down, and you and I always feel, there's those people in your life you just sit down and immediately you're having like a deep conversation, and like I feel like that with you. It's like there's always this, like I usually have a pretty meaningful conversation when the Gutsche is involved. So.
Well, I think that's, for most people, probably it's like when we've known each other enough years now, and we've done work in the trenches together for enough years that it's kind of just makes it easy, right? Anyone you spend some time with, go through some hardship or whatever form, you just dig right back into that, and that kind of, to me, that's like segues to sheep hunters right away, right? Like you go on the mountain and have some hardship, and you guys are friends for life, right? So. Yeah, always good to sit down with you, and yeah, we end up talking about a whole host of things each time. So,
yeah, cool. We kind of chatted about this before we went live, but I think this is kind of a cool opportunity for us to dig into the bowels of the Gutsche world and figure out what makes you tick. It's funny. There's the world's most interesting man, and I've got like 5 friends I can think of when that comes up, and you're definitely at the top of that list, man. So you're a great family man, you're a great dad, you're a great conservationist, but then you got this other side of your life where you like disappear off the map and go guiding for literally months at a time, and like I said, you do so much in your day-to-day life, so that's got to be a big sacrifice, and also I guess a testament to your passion for the backcountry and the outdoors and wildlife and wild sheep and all that sort of stuff. So hoping we can sort of scratch the surface on that and understand some of the inner machinations of the Gutsche and get some perspective on that.
Well, I'm not sure I've got them all figured out myself, but maybe not the most interesting, but certainly one of the most squirrely guys out there. Not afraid to think maybe outside the box or try to live life a little bit differently, and just kind of chase down passions and that kind of stuff instead of just doing the 9-to-5 grind and working for somebody else kind of thing. So that's something that maybe from a young age, having parents that were both self-employed and valued their own free time, and then didn't have it at certain times of their life, and so just growing up with that and observing even as a child stuck with me, and to this day sticks with me. And my wife's in the same boat. Her parents were hardworking, self-employed people, and same thing. She's like, I wish I had seen mom and dad more as a kid, kind of thing, because they were just grinding away all the time, and so that shapes you as an adult when you have your own family. And we've got 2 boys who are not so young anymore, but getting up there, and we just value that time spent together, and try to do things that make that possible. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. We both had to go through stages of our lives where we're working like crazy and we're away from home, and then we have other times of our life where we're able to hang out and just be and go sit at, I live in Penticton here, so go sit at the beach in the summer a bunch, and just play in the waves or whatever, right? Splash around. So it ebbs and flows, and I don't know. I find that a good way to be.
That's awesome, dude. I've always admired that about you. So it's interesting too. Like I correct me if I'm wrong, but I certainly know that your boys are into the outdoors. They love the outdoor space, but I think your wife, and I don't know if we need to talk names here or whatever. I won't say it on the air unless you do, but she's where does she sit on that? I think she recently has done her core and all that sort of stuff, so she's kind of getting into it, but obviously an outdoors person, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Emily, I'm not afraid to say her name.
Okay, cool.
She's from France, and so she moved to Canada in 2004. Didn't really grow up with the outdoors. She grew up in a small town in southern France, and so was, yeah, totally different outdoors than we have here in British Columbia or Canada in general. But she moved here to finish her university, went to UVic and did a couple years there as a geologist, and um, yeah, just was always like excited about the outdoors, but never spent a ton of time in it until we ended up getting together. And then even then, we didn't spend a ton of time in our early days. But she recognized my passion for it, and again, I was really fortunate to grow up having the outdoors be a big part of my life. Grew up, in a family with my dad who hunted and fished, and his dad before him the same. And so yeah, she just recognized that passion in me, and it kind of, to be honest, when we got together, like I wasn't hunting that much. I wasn't spending that much time outdoors. I was more focused on work and career at that time of my life. And as the once we had kids, that kind of changed because I was just like, man, I need to get back to this. I need to be able to spend time with my kids out here. And so as they've aged, we've tried to incorporate that more into our lives, and done that with varying degrees of success, one year to the next. But yeah, it eventually blossomed into, you know, Wyatt's going to turn, my oldest son, he's going to turn 14 this summer, and he still didn't have his core this winter, or like this past winter. And I was like, hey, dude, like if you want to go out with him anymore, like you're going to have to take some initiative on this, and I'm not going to force you to do something, but if you want to go hunting with me, like the deal is you need to have your core by the time next hunting season rolls around. And he's like, yep. And then Emily was just like, well, I want to get mine too. And so they went and did it together. And I don't think she'll ever hunt for herself. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like that's the case right now. But she was certainly interested enough to want to learn more about it, and yeah, simply just educate herself on that and be able to be a little bit more a part of the process. And then, she's been on hunts with me before. We've gone out as a family and done some spring bear hunting and had success there. And so, get the kids a little bit bloodied up, and she's not really a big fan of that side of it, which fair enough. But she's willing to be there, and she enjoys the fruits of the labor, so to speak. So yeah, it's just been a steady progress, as we continue our journey together.
That's super cool. I just had a mini epiphany there. You talked about Emily not necessarily probably ever going to hunt. Could you imagine if 4 million British Columbians took the core? Like that would change the hearts and minds of this province, right? We wouldn't have a one campfire would go away immediately. It's and they used to teach it in schools, right? Like so you can see the shift and totally thread drift here, but you can definitely see the shift in how we've got these big cities, a loss of like that connection with the natural landscape, and then no focus whatsoever on hunting or wildlife or conservation or animals other than what CBC puts in front of them on the newspaper, right?
Yeah, it's probably one of the greatest tragedies of our civilization right now, and maybe that's a little bit over the top, but it's how I truly feel, right? When you're connected with nature and with animals and all that kind of stuff, and you know about them to a certain extent, not everybody needs to be an expert, but when you know about them to a certain extent, it's an impactful part of your life. And I personally have just found like great benefits from that, and I think that shows to the people around me. And I've always been kind of willing to try to educate people or try to encourage them to maybe learn a little bit more themselves. And yeah, I think you're bang on the head. We were doing far better when more people were educated about that. And there is this huge drift of people going to cities and getting disconnected from it all. And maybe even just looking at everything in nature as just simply something that can be taken. right? And then as hunters, we do our share of taking, but I believe that we're also, very focused on how we can do that sustainably and ensure that the next generation can do the same thing, right? And I personally just feel that that's a very important aspect of life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, well said, Pete. There's so many things, like five things I want to talk about from that statement there. But it was interesting. I went spring bear hunting a couple weeks ago, and my buddy was out there with me. And I've always told the kids, let's leave the campsite better than we left it. Take some extra garbage with you. Do what you can. Blah blah blah. Right? Goes without saying. And we had this really cool spot on the lake we were hunting, and but somebody had thrown an old car seat, like one of those. It was a bench seat, and it was just like laying there, and it was kind of an eyesore. My buddy had his truck and he was going back, had capacity in his truck for it. And, he went and picked it up and threw it in his truck. And let's go to the landfill. He's going to have to pay for that. Right. And it's like, that's just like that next level. I wasn't prepared to do that. And I was actually a little embarrassed. I'm like, but just, that's what hunters do, right? Who organizes the backcountry cleanups and that sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong. It's not just hunters. I'm not like, we take some flack for, you always say it's just hunters. It's not. But there's a disproportionate amount of hunters that do that stuff compared to the general public, right?
Yeah, you betcha. I mean, I know even just driving around outside of town here, right? You look all over the map, and there's little mini, shooting ranges and stuff like that. Not official ones, but places where guys go to plink away, and you see so much garbage at those places too. And anytime I've ever seen someone cleaning up, it's usually someone that's got some camouflage on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I come to sight my gun in here a couple times a year, or whatever." And the place is always a dump, so whenever I come, I just try to pick it up a little bit. And it really seems that for the most part, that lack of respect to the wild is not done by hunters. We might not be the only ones picking them up, like you said, but I think for the most part, hunters are pretty respectful about the outdoors because they value being out there. And yeah, if we could get more people thinking that way or feeling that way, that'd be a benefit to everybody and to the planet as a whole.
Yeah, well said. We're saving the planet, buddy. So
right.
Did Wyatt? Did you guys do any spring bear hunting?
So we haven't really done anything this spring. I've got a bear tag in the pocket. We were up at my cabin last weekend for May long, and then we woke up to 3 inches of snow. So that kind of put a damper in the bear hunting. But we didn't have a ton of time to spend up there, and had a long list of chores to do anyway. So it was kind of like, we might squeak out for an afternoon if we can. And then the weather was just kind of not really conducive to doing too much bear hunting. So we just decided to hang out and have a nice campfire and do that kind of thing instead. But yeah, just too busy at the house right now. As you know, I'm pretty deep into some extensive renovations on the house and just, grinding away here at home for the next, I got another 4 to 5 weeks to wrap it up before I head north. So, just scrambling to get everything done. So I don't know if I'm going to get out for bears again. Maybe an afternoon on the weekend or something like that. We might poke around just locally here, but it's been kind of a write-off this spring, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, 4 to 5 weeks to head north. So I'm doing the math. I'm like, oh my God, like that's really freaking quick. Like that's the middle of July. So I guess you kind of, a lot of guys will get into guiding that, like they'll, come out of school, they'll start off as a wrangler, maybe in the summertime, and maybe camp, help around the camp, or maybe they know somebody, and then, they do like to hire young guys, and then all of a sudden they work their way up and into the guide scene. But you were kind of a late bloomer on that end of things, I guess, in some regards. So, and you've been elevating your A game. You're kind of going from like dip your toe in the water to now you're like, on the Olympic team. So touch a little bit on guide life and maybe who you guide for, how you got into it, where the interest came from, and let's do the deep dive on that.
Yeah, sure thing. I guess backtrack on that. Where the interest came from, it was always there. I just never did it at a young age. When I was like 20, I ended up working throughout the Northwest Territories at Nunavut, doing more like mining exploration camp work. So I was building camps and doing sampling programs and all kinds of stuff. And that took up 4 years of my life where I probably could have been guiding at that same time. It's also the time where I, spent a couple of days in Norman Wells waiting for flights and was looking at the Mackenzie Mountains and was like, shit, I got to go there, at some point in my life. And just from seeing them from, miles away, which, yeah, translated to almost 20 years later, I finally made that happen. Um, but but yeah, the thought was always there. Then as I kind of did my other work up north, um, realized I wanted to have a family at some point, and then that kind of stage of things happened. So didn't get into it then. Did my electrical apprenticeship and became a journeyman as an electrician in the meantime, and then had kids and all the rest. And then it finally came to a point a few years, 3 years ago now, where I was like, oh, I could actually reasonably pull this off in a part-time capacity and really just get to go hunt a little bit more and spend more time out there with other guides that are probably far more educated than I am, more experienced, and just learn more about it all. And so that's kind of how it happened for me. And then it's just continually grown from there over the last couple of years to the point where now I'm going to go do a full season up at Arctic Red River Outfitters in the Northwest Territories, doing sheep guiding and moose and caribou. The last couple of years I was just doing the moose and caribou thing. And so, yeah, it's just been this evolution of, one year to the next, stepping up a little bit more, no different than maybe any other career that you could have or job or anything else in your life, really, right? You just apply yourself and show up. And if you prove yourself to be reliable and consistent and all these things, then your chances are you're going to get rewarded for it. And so that's where it's been. I never really had pressure on it. I didn't know if I wanted to get into it full time or not. And I'm still not full time. Like I do a full season at Arctic Red, but I'm not filling, 9 to 12 months of my calendar with guiding by any stretch. I might do a little bit in the fall down here in BC. I might look into things for next spring as well. Usually I do a couple of bear hunts in the spring with Ben Storak at Arcadia Outfitting. Didn't do that this spring just because of my renovations that I had going on. But yeah, that's kind of where it started. And really Ben was the guy that helped me out in getting my shot up at Arctic Red. He was previously guiding or had been guiding for a long time for Tavis at Arctic Red, and I was harassing him kind of year after year, like, hey, bud, could you put in a good word for me?
This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Gunworks. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Gunworks, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's been 3 years now since I got into the guiding side of things. And that was really, again, just because kids were old enough and I had kind of a place in my life career-wise where I could take a few weeks off to kind of give it a go. And so I'd been bugging Ben Storak from Arcadia Outfitting to try to get me a job up at Arctic Red. And that was, yeah, he's been a long time guide with Tavis. They're now co-owners on another outfit in the Yukon as well, Iron North Outfitting. And so bugged him enough. It took almost 2 years, and then finally he was like, "Hey, you should give Tav a call," and that's kind of how that blossomed and started. And it was, yeah, a progression, right? So started doing moose and sheep guiding initially, 5 to 6 week stint, pretty reasonable and manageable to do as having a family and all that. And gave it a go and realized that, yeah, it worked totally fine on my end. I was having a blast up there, getting to go hunt some amazing country with some cool clients and just see some pretty wicked critters running around. And came home and everything was good enough at home that it was like, yeah, this is something that can be done again. And in the meantime, was also guiding with Ben down here in BC at Arcadia. So did some bear hunting with him for the past couple springs and some mule deer hunting with him in the fall. And so, yeah, by no means am I like a full-time year-round guide. It's not really what I'm after either. I do value time spent at home. at different times of the year and time spent with family. And so I don't foresee myself becoming one of those guys that's running around 9 months of the year chasing critters, although that maybe selfishly would be what I'd like to do, but just not really possible, and that's fine. Kind of make hay with the grass you're growing. So it's the progression at Arctic Red has been that I did 2 years there, kind of the same deal, like a bit of August, all of September, and just focused on the moose and caribou. And then this past fall, Tavis just asked if I wanted to do more or what I was into for next year, and I was like, I'd love to do a full season if possible. And that was after chatting with Emily coming out, and was like, hey, this is what I'd love to do. I don't know if that works for you at home with the kids or not. We had a conversation around it, and it really didn't take any convincing for her. She was like, yeah, go do it. Like, I see how fired up you are when you come out of the bush, and even though you look like a skeleton, you're still mentally and psychologically and whatever else, like in a fantastic place, and you're fired up to take on the world again. And by the time this time of year rolls around, it's like, yeah, just get out of the house, like you need to go in the mountains again. And I'm sure there's probably guys chuckling at that because they feel the same way. You just like, you find yourself out there to varying degrees, and so yeah, excited to go do a full season this year. I think I've got 3 or 4 sheep hunts on the books, and then caribou and moose after that. So yeah, a lot of hunting, a lot of hiking, and yeah, a lot of good days spent in a tent. Can't wait.
That's awesome, man. Super cool. Super envious. So you take off, you said middle of July, and when you rock back up into this part of the world, when you come home.
Yeah, so we end our season up there September 30th is usually that's usually when all the clients are back in base camp on September 30th, and then we're out within a couple days of that. Obviously, weather's a factor at that time of the year, especially up in the north, and we're quite a bit further north than anywhere in BC even. So we've been lucky the last couple of years that I've been up that we haven't had any issues there. It's you've had a good weather window kind of within a day of that, and so yeah, usually touching down in Whitehorse in the first couple of days of October. I know in years past they've had things go sideways with weather, and they're sitting there for the better part of a week, kind of thing. So that's possible. Certainly something you can't predict this far out. So just go with the flow, and that's what it looks like for me. It'd be away from. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what day I'll leave to head north, but anything July 1st onwards is possible. And then back into September, so better part of 3 months I'll be gone, and occasional Wi-Fi in between hunts for a night or two, and other than that it's just disconnected. And you obviously have an in-reach and can still have conversation through that a little bit, and guiding. We're carrying a sat phone at all times too, just for emergency scenarios, so I do have communication options if I really need them, but it's definitely a nice time to just fall off the grid and enjoy the splendors of the world.
That's awesome. So I've never guided, so I've always had this sort of, I guess, fascination about the guide life, and I think Nolan said it. I've heard a few other guides say that they'd rather guide than hunt. Like, they actually enjoy it more than the hunting itself. Like, they like hunting, of course, don't get me wrong. Nobody said that they don't like hunting, but they actually find guiding more rewarding. So what is it that does it for you? Is it your ability to connect with nature on someone else's dime? Is it that satisfaction of getting someone an animal? Is it because that's the thing too for us as we mature as hunters. I don't give two hoots if I ever kill another animal. I don't need to. Like, I want to be there. I want to pursue them. I want to see somebody pull the trigger. I want to be successful in a hunt, but I don't need to be the guy pulling the trigger. And don't get me wrong, I will, and I'd love to, but I don't need to be. I feel like it's, when I was 18, I had to kill stuff. I just there was like this innate thing where it's like, it's just kind of like almost had to prove yourself. I don't know. It's just like, I guess maybe it's just that predator drive that we're built with, like as human beings, like you have to go do it. And I just like almost this insatiable appetite, or you want to go and harvest something, right? And that's just gone now. It's for me. So I'd love to hear your motivation on that and where that comes from and how you feel about the whole guiding thing and versus hunting yourself. and you're a very accomplished hunter. So, obviously you enjoy it and you're good at it. So.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those things, Kyle. For one, you're absolutely right. Like to get to go to some place, essentially on someone else's dime, or to be paid to go out there. Like I'm not really in the financial position to go and buy hunts at Arctic Red River Outfitters, but it was always a dream to go hunt in the Mackenzies, and now I get to do that, and I get paid to do that. So that's absolutely one part of it. It's probably not the major part of it, but it's a pretty neat feature, right? Where you just get to go be a part of that place, and then the team around it too. So for me, like I look at hunting and my evolution as a hunter is I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to not necessarily tick boxes. I've never been one to like collect things too much. Like some guys are into that, and there's no judgment there. It's just not my thing. But I've always tried to learn more and get better at it. And so by stepping into the guiding sphere, that was certainly one of the driving reasons for me, was like, well, now I'm going to be spending time with guys that have a way more experience than I do. And I can learn from them, right? And I can learn different tactics or different approaches or whatever it might be. And that could be as simple as like what they're doing with their gear versus how they go about any given hunting day or on this species or that species or whatever else, right? And so I'm pretty fortunate to be able to share the odd campfire with a guy like Al Clausen, who's like an absolute legend in the sheep hunting world, and knows far more about it than I will ever know in my life. But through a couple of conversations here and there that are like just completely down to earth conversations, I'm picking things up that I'm fortunate to be able to, right? And so that's an aspect of it. Again, speaking to not being a collector myself, I don't care about pulling the trigger. I've pulled the trigger on many animals over the years, and for varying reasons. Sometimes it's for a trophy thing. Sometimes most of the time it's for meat, to be honest, and it's for memories for me. And so the memories is the big one. And to be able to share that with other people, to be able to educate people and teach them a little bit about either about hunting itself or about my own beliefs around hunting and wildlife in general and the conservation space in that regard, that's something that I value. And so through guiding, I get to do that, right? And it's not that I'm out there preaching to a client, like I'm not. You have to be able to read the room and read the person and know what's worth saying and what's not, and all that kind of stuff. But I've been very fortunate with the clients I've had, both at Arctic Red and at Arcadia, that we're just having a really good time, and we're there to make memories. Like most guys that's what they're going there for. They have their dreams of, I want to kill a 40-inch ram, or I want to shoot a 60-inch moose or a 400-inch caribou or whatever else. Like, yeah, we have those aspirations and goals in mind, and that's what drives us in our preparation for these trips, and drives us to make the sacrifices we make in life so that we can go on trips like that, be that in your workspace or whatever else. But then they get up there and they're like, man, this place is spectacular, right? And they say that on the Fraser River just as they do up at Arctic Red. It doesn't matter. Like, it's Arctic Red special, sure, it's way the heck out there, but when you're out in the wild and it's new, and it's awe-dropping. And I think, even as most guys maybe listen to this are BC resident hunters, or they're from down south in the States, in Montana, Idaho, Utah, what have you, state, doesn't matter. You go somewhere new there and you're like, man, look at this place. Like, if you haven't been there before, it's special right away. You're like, oh, I got to figure this out. I got to discover this. I want to go here. I want to check that out, all these things. And I love that exploration part. Like, I think since I was a kid, I was like, man, I wish I lived like 200 years ago, and I could have been like the first guy exploring this river. And like, obviously, indigenous communities, notwithstanding, they were there far longer. But like, that sense of exploration is something that's really drives me. And so when I get to share that with somebody else and see the twinkle in their eyes kind of thing, I love that. I just love it. And I'm like, and when you're guiding at a place like Arctic Red, like oftentimes you're not going to the same place over and over again. It's like it's a new experience for me each time. I'm getting dropped off at a new airstrip for this hunt, and I've never been there before. And it's like we're going to explore. We're here. We are. We're in this massive playground, and we get to just go have a good time for 10 days or whatever it's going to be. And so it's all the memories that happen along the way, right? It could be something like, oh, I filled my boot in this creek, or I, whatever, right? The tent pole snapped in this windstorm, or whatever it is, right? They're memories, and it's not always just, oh, I shot this big thing. And so to share that with guys, and I've been really fortunate. A lot of the hunts I've done have been like 2-on-1 hunts. So I've had either like father-son duos, had one father-daughter duo, had like lifelong friends or longtime friend duos. That's like they're just so excited to be out there, and they're so happy to share those memories, and to just be to be a part of that story is rewarding in and of itself. And generally we find success anyway when it comes to the hunting side of it, and that's awesome that we do. But you can tell most of the time that it wouldn't have mattered if you did. It was like we made these memories along the way anyway, and that's what it was all about. It was about that trip and that adventure, and we went on it and we did it. And so that's, for me, that's the biggest part of guiding that I absolutely love, and I think it's maybe not the way for every guide, but I think there's a lot of guides out there that probably feel the same way.
That's awesome, buddy. Yeah, as a hunter, I find like I enjoy the hunting aspect, but probably the thing I enjoy the most is the campfire stuff. Well, I guess not really on a mountain hunt per se, because we don't really do campfires on the mountain hunt. But at the end of the day, sitting around and reminiscing, and just even sitting in the tent looking at pictures, right? Like you got your phone out and you're just like scrolling from the day and like, oh yeah, and like strategizing, right? And of course, there's the elation of successfully harvesting an animal too, right? But it's that campfire talk that really makes it, right? Especially for me now. But does it change you as a hunter? Does it change? Obviously, you're a better hunter. Clearly, like if you do something full time, you're going to get better at it, right? So if you're guiding and you can actually, the best, if you're going to teach somebody, you got to be a master at it. You got to be really good at it. So if you're going to take someone out and get them an animal, you're going to have to be really skilled at it. So talk a little bit about how it's affected your hunting, and are you a better hunter? Does it change how you hunt? Does it change how you feel about hunting?
If it doesn't change, no, I think if anything, what it changes for me is that it's just made me actually want to kind of just help people out more. And so the first year I was guiding, I came back and I was like, I don't even want to hunt for myself right now. And some guys maybe are like, that's crazy. Like, what do you mean? You just been doing all this hunting for other people. Like, now it's your chance. I didn't have that at all. I was just like, man, I'd love to go out and hunting again right now. But like, I'd love to just go help a buddy out and like help them get something that they're after or whatever. We've got a running joke with my brother. I got two younger brothers, and we always put in for moose draw, group moose draws and stuff like that. And I think over the years, like I'm up to like 8 moose or something like that now, and he still doesn't have a moose. And so it's like whenever we get this draw, it's just like I'm like, I don't want to shoot a moose, like, but we're all gonna go out and we spread out in an area that where we can safely not over harvest our allotment and stuff like that. But we'll be spread out in a meadow. There's this one area where it's like it's a pond that's like about 1 kilometer long, and like one guy will station out at one end of it and one guy will be at the other end, and it's got a curve to it so you can't see either end. And it's like over the years when we've had this tag, like we usually end up shooting a moose at this place, and we'll swap back and forth. Like you take this end, I'll take that end, and over the years, like I always end up just shooting a moose, like the first day or the second day, and I'm like, man, it was there. Like we're here to kill a moose or 2 moose, right? That's what we're here for, and so I'm not gonna not shoot it, but I really wish he shot it, and so now I'm kind of like, well, if we're gonna go out, I'm almost like, well, I'm not gonna take my gun. Like I'm gonna go with you, and like I'll just call for you. Like you've got the gun, you're the shooter. I'm not shooting shit. Like you need a moose on the wall. But then Yeah, so I guess that's one thing that it has changed for me is that I'm really just more about like I want to go out with my buddies, I want to go out with my own family and friends, and go just make some of those memories because I'm doing it with strangers essentially every time, and maybe at some point I end up guiding somebody that I've already guided before, and that would probably be a fun thing to do, and just kind of relive the old memories of the previous hunt and all that stuff. But I definitely, yeah, it makes me miss hunting with my own family and friends, if anything, just because that's what I grew up doing, and then I don't get to do it as much now because, yeah, I've got family and kids at home, and when you're gone for 6 weeks to 3 months at a time, the rest of your time is a little bit more precious on that end of it too. So there's a balance there that we're continually navigating, and yeah, it's great now that Emily's got her core and Wyatt's got his core. It's like, well, guess what? We can go be together and go do this thing, right? And so selfishly, I'm just like, yes, this has finally come about, and off we go into something. Who knows where it goes? But yeah, that'd be the one thing that changed, and then maybe just also like again, not that I was really that adamant about shooting stuff for myself before, but it's really just kind of I don't care to go hunting for myself. And I kick myself too. Like, so last year I had a Roosevelt tag. And I think we talked about this back in December or something already on the podcast with Greg and you and I. But yeah, I went out on that hunt and I didn't shoot an elk. And it's been now 6-7 months later. I'm just kicking myself. I'm like, man, like, why didn't you spend 2-3 weeks straight out there, like the duration of the tag, and just make sure that you got it done, kind of thing, right? And I didn't, and again, I had valid reasons why I shouldn't have done that. And I'm not mad at myself. I'm just disappointed, so to speak, right? So giving myself a dad talk. But yeah, there's things like that, I guess. So.
Yeah. How do you see this sort of shaking out as your boys mature and and now Emily's a little bit into hunting, maybe that grows with her. So obviously you're not going to be doing any August or September hunts with them. Does that concern you at all about not being able to get the kids out? Obviously you can still do a spring hunt. You can still do a October hunt. Obviously there's great hunting in October, November, certainly for, deer and stuff like that. But sheep is going to be a bit more challenging, I guess, unless I guess we could take them for bighorns. So what does that look like for the family and that impact, especially as you move forward?
Yeah, so that's definitely on my mind already. And again, I don't know how a full season's going to go yet, right? I don't know if by the end of it, maybe I'm going to be like, man, that was too long for me to be away from the family. Maybe it's going to be Emily saying that to me or the kids. I don't know. But we decided we're going to try it out this year and see. And so I'm kind of just taking it day by day and just see how it goes this year. But certainly the last couple of years, spending a good chunk of August and basically all of September up there, I miss hunting in BC at that time of year. Like that's a wicked time of year to be out in certainly northern BC. Chasing whatever critter you want to be after, but it's a great time to be in the woods, and I'm super grateful I get to do it up north. But it definitely is on my mind. So yeah, for now it's like I'm just October is my focus for getting out with Wyatt and Emily if she wants to come out and bring Evan along too, obviously. That's kind of my window is really like October, go spend some time. And maybe that means, maybe we're fortunate enough and we get a moose draw and we can go do the wall tent trip, with my brothers and our other good friends and go do that. Or maybe that doesn't happen. And maybe it's like, well, let's just go, boogie somewhere for elk or mule deer or whatever else and kind of just do that. But I know we'll get out, probably go do like a week-long trip, give or take. I don't know what it is quite yet and might not know. I don't know how the LEH is going to go this year with how late it came out. But, we'll just see what happens on the LEH side of things. And if nothing does, then, we're super super lucky in here in BC to have a lot of options available on being able to get outdoors and go chase something. So we'll go do something, but then longer term vision for me, like I'd love to get Wyatt up at Arctic Red. And that's a goal and dream of mine, and that's obviously a conversation I need to actively pursue with Tavis and Rebecca. It's something I feel like it's possible, but that's their choice, not mine. And so yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not pressuring that too. Again, I just want to take it one thing at a time, go do this first stint first and see how that goes. If that's something that I feel is valid, then maybe next year or the year after or whatever, it's like, hey, I'd love to guide for you full time again, but I want to bring my own packer with me, kind of thing, right? And like, I know that that's what they do with their own kids anyway. They've got 4 children, and the 2 oldest boys the oldest boy's been doing full seasons the last 2 years already. Like, it's awesome to see, and you see how dialed in that guy is as a young teenager. It's impressive. It's honestly impressive. Like, he's a driven kid, and I mean, everything points towards that guy's going places, kind of thing, right? And so I'd love to be able to share the mountains with Wyatt a bit more, and if we could do something like that, I know Emily would be supportive of that too. And so we'll see where that goes. That's my dream. And if that doesn't work, and that's out of my control anyway, but if that doesn't work, then we'll find something else to do. And maybe that means I can't do full seasons down the road. And then we go sheep hunting or whatever in northern BC instead in August or whatever. And I go do whatever it is, right? Like, I'm pretty easygoing that way. Like, yes, I have goals and dreams that I wish to pursue, but they don't always work out. Like, that's life. And you have to be able to be flexible and adapt to situations as they arise. And yeah, for me, like, definitely getting Wyatt out there is one of the things I want to do, but I've also been, I don't put too much pressure on it. I don't put too much pressure on him. I want it to come from him a little bit, right? Like, it's, I don't know. I just remember in my own childhood, like, you'd get forced to go do things sometimes, and sometimes it was hunting. Sometimes it had nothing to do with hunting. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not just a hunting thing, but I know how I ended up getting into it, and I got away from hunting for a bit, and part of it was because I think it was like a bit too much from my dad, and then I got back into it later in life as certainly as I had kids. I was like, oh shit, I need to do this way more, and I need to make sure that my kids get into it and all this stuff. And so I'm just a little bit cautious with it, that I don't push too hard, and maybe I'm too soft too. I don't know, 2024 parenting or something like that. But where it's going good so far. There's been a continual growth year after year with Wyatt, and I know that he would absolutely thrive out there. And so, yeah, we'll see what comes of it.
That's awesome, man. Inspiration. Yeah, that's very cool. Before we completely segue, what's your spring training plan? So, I'm curious, like, as a guide, obviously you get thrown in there in July and it's like, okay, here you go. And off you go to the races. Like, you just, there's no training now, but obviously you got to be some level of fitness. And we touched on it before we went live here. It's like, yeah, I'm not maybe in the best shape I could be right now. So, how do you transition to that July hunt? Like, what are you going to do to prep for that? Just get out and put a pack on, or just rock up and hope for the best, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, I've never been great at doing like the formal training stuff, and I really should get better at that. Obviously, getting up there in age now, so I could always do more, and if I could preach to anybody listening right now, it'd be like, do as much as you absolutely can. And obviously, life is life, and you can either make excuses or you can just go get to it. And I find like there's a balance in there. Sometimes excuses are valid, and sometimes, you just need to work a little harder. And so I'm not doing any formal training plan. I have a couple pieces, and like my house is gutted right now. This room that we're sitting in aside, my house is like a complete construction site right now. And so everything is like half my stuff is sitting in a sea can the past 2 months. So for me, it's more like just get out and go hiking. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I could probably do more of it, to be honest. In the winter, I was doing some work with weights and stuff like that. But again, like I don't like going to the gym. I'm not that guy, and I've tried it over the years many times, and I just cannot get into it. I just would far prefer to just do something at home. And so for me, like I have a small gym. It's not extensive by any degree. A couple of cardio machines, and then some weights. A couple kettlebells and a couple of dumbbells, and fill up a backpack, and got a box I can step up on, and all that kind of stuff. So pretty basic. But yeah, I just try to go out and do something, and maybe someone will absolutely slam me for this. That's okay. But I don't do the formal thing. I really just go and try to keep at it. And I find over the years that I'm a little bit more sore for sure, and probably not as strong as I used to be. But there's definitely a muscle memory to backpacking, I find. And it doesn't, if I don't do anything, then that's one thing, sure. But as long as I'm doing a little bit, like when I throw the backpack on and I start hiking, it feels pretty good right away for me. And maybe I'm lucky that way, I don't know. But it just always has. And so I don't train as hard as I should. Probably should do more. But for me, the best thing is like get out there and hiking, do a bit of weight stuff in the winter. And then in the spring, it's like, just go hike and, get used to things. And my buddy Matt Ward will probably slam me for this and be like, you're a complete idiot. Like, this is what you should be doing. And he's probably right. But, that's me anyway.
Well, there's the Wardos of the world, and then there's other people too, right? Like, there's that sort of extreme side, right? And Wardo's definitely, there's some of that going on there. Like he's the Greg McHale of the world, right? He's takes it to the next level. And yeah, like that's the thing is, like, are you successful as a guide? Do you ever get your ass kicked by your client? Probably not, right? So, and really as a guide, that's probably what you're thinking. As long as I'm better than my best client, I've got nothing to worry about, right?
Well, I mean, I probably shouldn't say that, but yeah, that's probably what you're thinking. Realistically, it's like, as long as this, and I shouldn't speak poorly of clients, but typically they're older fellas. And so, for the most part, you really shouldn't get smoked by your client. Like there's no real reason for that to happen. And that said, like, I know a couple of guides, and I won't mention names, but they don't look like they're mountain guides, and yet they get it done, right? They get it done, and they up the mountain they go, down the next one, up the next one, and they can go for months. And you don't need to be chiseled out of granite to go be a backpacking guide. And shit, if you look at most of them, they're skinny little runts for the most part, right? They usually just have long legs and can take less steps than the average guy maybe. I don't know if that's the secret, but yeah, it's you're not. Very rarely are you sprinting during a hunt, right? You're, for the most part, it's more of a marathon kind of thing. And so that's where I think, like, the sayings of, like, it's the mental toughness is more important than the physical toughness. And I truly believe that that's the truth. And that's also an advantage, I think, for when you do it more. You've been in tough situations more often, and you've pushed yourself through those mental battles. To the point where you just know, I got this. Like, and there's a fault to that too, where if you don't do any training and you're not prepared, you could injure yourself, and then you don't got it all of a sudden. So there's flip sides to it. But I know over the years, and certainly since I've done guiding and just packed out a lot of animals the last couple of years, in those tough scenarios that you're like, I just got to keep going. It really is a marathon at this point. It's not a race. It's just continue on, and as long as you're doing that in a safe manner, you're going to win at the end of the day.
I guess that's the thing, as we get older, that's the biggest risk is injury, right? Like, you're probably going to have the ability to keep up, and your stamina is going to be okay, but do you end up getting injured? But then the other flip side is, and I run into this a lot, my hunting partner is just a machine. He shows up to the mountain in like peak condition, but sometimes he overtrains and he ends up injuring himself in the training side of things. And then, there's been times where a hunt's been at risk, and I think that's got to be something you got to be really cognizant of and careful that you end up. So that's, I figure if I don't do anything, I can't get injured in the training process. Just kidding. But being facetious there. But, there's a balance like anything. So, yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay. So there's a bunch of other stuff I'd love to talk about with guide stuff. And I think we're going to kind of do like some guide-centric stuff. I know that you've had a chat with our good friend Ben at Arcadia. And sounds like Ben might be available when his bear season wraps up to come on, and might even bug you to see if you could get Al on, and it'd be cool to do a pod with him. I know he's not one for the fanfare, but it'd be really cool to have him on and get to know what it's like having lived a legacy, right, of guiding in the backcountry. So hopefully we can do more of that, and you're the guy to lead us on that, knowing what it's like to be there, live that life, right? So.
Yeah, no, it's something in thinking about the Talk of Sheep podcast, I've been thinking about for a while already, and it was like, it'd be awesome, truly awesome to get a bunch of guides on this and and it could be anonymous even, like, maybe the guys would recognize a voice here or there, but you could do it anonymously. It'd just be like, we just want to have like a hunt stories thing, like a quick little 15-minute hit with this guy or that guy or something else, and just like share your whatever story that you could take that down a number of different avenues. But I know a lot of the sheep guides don't really like the public space, and probably mountain guides in general, not just sheep guides, I think. But they do it because they love it, and they don't really care to share. Not in a public way, at least. Like, they're happy to share around the campfire and with their friends and within their circles and stuff like that. And I think there's something admirable to that. Absolutely. I also think that it would be very rewarding for people that are listening to have some of those guys that really, really, really have experience, like far more than myself. Absolutely. If they were to share a bit more, I think it'd be pretty special. You look at any sheep hunting book out there, right? Look how highly those are regarded, right? And if you were to have some guys speak up to that, I think it would be quite impactful. But yeah, it got my work cut out for me. I've brought it up already last year a little bit and was shot down quite quickly. So and yeah, I've definitely heard some jokes here and there. So I'll continue plugging away at it, and we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, there's some absolute legends out there that would be awesome to hear from in even just a very casual kind of capacity.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think if we could pull it off, it'd be awesome to have those guys on, and just it'd be nice to me. I'd love to sit down and have a meal of a conversation with a guy like Al Klassen or Ben Storak or Tavis. These legends that have done it their entire life, right? But they're not one for the fanfare. I get it. So, if we have to hide their identity, then we shall. So it'd be awesome to get them on for sure. So, but I appreciate the efforts there. So Pete, before I let you go, let's talk a little bit. Your membership chair with the society, you do so much heavy lifting there. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on in the membership world? And I know you're also a big proponent of membership engagement, the volunteer aspect, getting involved with the sheep counts. Let's just touch on all that stuff.
Yeah, you betcha. So I think you guys touched on it with Barker there recently, but we do have a membership promotion going on for the next few months here. I think it ends kind of end of October, give or take. So yeah, we're trying to get this group of hooligans up to 2,000, right? And we're sitting kind of right in and around 1,500, I believe, at the moment. And so we're looking to bring another 500 members on board with the Wild Sheep Society here. And so we've been we're stirring the pot on how we could go about doing that the last few months here in the background, and came up with this promotion that we've got, which I think is pretty impressive personally. So we kind of reached out to the vast majority of our conservation partners. We got Sitka, Frontiersman, Schnee, Stone Glacier, Onyx, Yeti, Zeiss is involved as well. And basically put this $10,000 prize package together. And the change on this promotion from the past ones was that we opened it up to referrals, right? So yourself or myself could be entered in this if we wanted to be, or any other member right now. And it's basically just refer your friends, talk to your friends, speak highly of the Sheep Society and the work that we do, and all the money we're putting down on the ground across the province for every subspecies of sheep that we have here, the advocacy work for disease stuff, the prescription fires in the north, whatever it is that speaks to you and to maybe the sheep that you like to pursue yourself, whatever corner of the province you're from, like, just speak up to it, because we're actively working on all of it and trying to make a difference on all of it. And so yeah, it's a points-based system like we've done in many of the drives in the past. So you've got your 1 year to 3 year memberships, and that's going to be worth 1 entry. You got life memberships worth 2 entries, and then Monarch memberships worth 3 entries. There's no limit to how many people you could be referring or how many people can sign up for this. If we blow past 2,000, all the better, right? We're not going to be complaining on our end. But basically, yeah, someone's going to walk away at the end of it, and it's, I think you're doing, I don't know if it's a random number generator or how you're doing the draw there in October, but basically we're going to draw a winner, and you're going to win this epic prize package where you're getting, a bunch of Fresh Trek meals, you're getting a couple of Frontiersman knives, you're getting a pair of Zeiss HD binoculars, you're getting a couple of Yeti coolers, you're getting a bunch of Sitka gear, you're getting a Stone Glacier Terminus 7,000 pack, you're getting, a lifetime elite membership to Onyx, you're getting Schnee boots. It's a really, really awesome package for people to or for some lucky winner to get. And in the meantime, you're supporting the society, which I know there's a lot of goodwill things out there right now, and we were speaking about this, before we jumped on live as well, and like how do we get membership higher and all these things, and goodwills maybe only goes so far, but sometimes an epic prize package is the way to get someone in the door, right? And then we can educate them more on everything that we do, right? So this, I'm speaking mostly to members here because I think that's kind of if we're going to drive this the way that we kind of envision it, it's going to have to come from our membership leading the way, I think. And so it's as simple as like talking to your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad or your cousin or whomever, right? Or your buddies that hunt but aren't a member. Like talking to them, look, man, for $60 you sign up. If I refer you, you get an entry, I get an entry. One of us might win this thing, right? And you do that a few times, and if you're one of the members or whatever that's referring guys, like you did that 10, 15 times, you got these points, like you might get that package. It's totally reasonable. And the person that's just signing up, maybe they got a slightly lower chance, but they could then be referring their friend or whatever. And, I think that's for $60 to get a membership for the year. And obviously we'd love to get a bunch of Monarchs and Lifes and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But really just bringing in new membership and attracting new people to the society, it's how we continue to do all the things that we're doing, right? We've grown immensely the last 5, 6, 7 years now, and it's really awesome to see. And we kind of hit this a little bit of a stagnation point, I find, on membership, where we're raising more money year after year. We're getting good at that through the raffles we do and our auctions and our events now, moving to Penticton, expanding that, and the northern event just going off as it always does, and Jurassic and all these things that we're doing, they're all incredible, right? But if our membership numbers are larger than they are, it's going to also serve us better when we're talking with government or we're talking with whatever other brand or something like that to then raise more money. Like it all ties together, right? And for me, it's our membership is it's the heart of the organization, and we say this all the time, but like we do have like incredible membership support. When you look at the Monarchs and the lifetime memberships that we have, in that number of like 1,500 right now, it's friggin' incredible to see what the people that are into the society are doing for it. It really is year after year. It's all inspiring, and I think I know it inspires me as a director on the society, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Kyle, and for many of us on the board. It really drives us to put in, all the extra hours that we do put in throughout the year. And yeah, I'd love to see that number grow personally. So I just made a bit of a plea for assistance with this one, guys. But like, if you're listening to this and you know other people that are, man, they don't even need to be sheep hunters, but just like look at the benefits that we do for wildlife on the mountain. And that can affect elk and mule deer and goats and whatever else in different pockets of the province. And so, if you like what we're doing, refer anyone and everyone that you know, because it will make a difference for us all.
Yeah, well said, buddy. I just ran the numbers there while you were talking, because it kind of tweaked them. Like, we do a lot, giving back, and I took our number, $629,000. That's how much we put on the ground last year and the year before. So we've done that 2 years in a row now. And it's ironic. We don't plan these things in terms of like the budget to be like that, but it just worked out that those exactly the numbers. They were both within a couple $100 each year. We actually had much higher approvals than that, but because of, projects don't get off the ground or whatever, but 629 was the number. I divided by that by 1,500 members. So, an average guy or girl that has a 1 year membership, it's 55 on an auto renew, 60 on a 1 year. $420 per member goes on the ground for wild sheep. So, your $60 membership, and you're contributing the equivalent of $420 as an individual member to what we do, like for conservation. And it's not, we talk lots about wild sheep, but, when we're doing a restoration project, what else is it benefiting? It's benefiting mountain goats, elk, moose, mule deer, and countless other species too. So yeah, we are the Wild Sheep Society BC, but we're, our footprint's much bigger than just helping wild sheep. One last point that I just want to raise too, Pete, is you talked about the membership promotion itself. And the interesting thing that I've found is that I personally buy memberships for friends every year. I just go out and buy someone a membership. And I know a number of members do that. I know Daryl Hosker, he called me one time and he bought like 10 memberships for people that he wanted to introduce to the society. And some of them are now Monarch members. So, again, if you really care about the society, this is a chance for your leadership. Just go out and buy a friend a membership. If you think it's somebody that would subscribe to what we do. Think of it kind of like a raffle ticket. This is a promotion. It's not a raffle, but, we're trying to get 500 members. So what are we going to get? 1,000 entries? Your odds are pretty good for a $10,000 prize package. Go and buy a couple of membership for people, and you're put your name in the refer because you're buying it for them. So, this is a great opportunity for you to step up and support the society, get people involved, and you yourself are going to benefit from it because your name is going to go in that drawing for that $10,000 prize package. So it's a great opportunity to buy people a membership. You buy them a 1 year, $60, but if you buy somebody a life membership, you get 2 entries and so forth. Like, you can do the math on where your money's best spent there. But if you really want to buy someone a life membership, this is the time to do it, obviously. So, and you both get in, the person you bought for and you yourself as the purchaser. So yeah, great opportunity for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see where it goes. I know we definitely want to hit that 2,000 number, and I know that you and I are both personally thinking beyond that one already too. So it's excited to see where we go with the society.
Yeah, well said, buddy. And I just appreciate all you do on the membership end, and I know that you're a passionate guy. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and I know that when members are happy, you're happy. When members have concerns, or they're talking to you about their concerns, you take it personally. And that's awesome, man. I love the ownership that you have and the empathy you have for our members. And I care a lot about our members, but I could pretty safely say that I don't know anyone in the society that cares more about our membership than you do. So I can't think of a better person to lead our membership. And just really, it's inspiring, dude. So thank you for all you do there.
I appreciate that, Kyle. Don't know that I'm the most qualified guy for the job all the time, but certainly happy to be in this role. And you're definitely right. As much as I don't like people, it's actually kind of funny. I'm not really a people person, but when it comes to like the Wild Sheep Society membership, I'm like, I'm here for you guys, right? And I might not have the answer necessarily, but I'm here to listen to your concerns for sure. Anytime, anything, doesn't matter. I'll take it on, and I'll try to do what I can with it, right? And I guess maybe on that membership side of things too, like one of the things that I have been passionate about the last couple of years is like trying to get people out there a little bit more. And it really started, I think, in 2019, that Spence's Bridge sheep count, where I think it was the first year that I kind of took over the organization of it, and alongside Brad Siemens and Naomi Weeks, our previous directors. And we kind of blew that thing up into this big, like 120 person event. And maybe that was a bit too big in hindsight, but I also know that that was like outside of the conventions, like that event was like probably the biggest thing that we had, not in a money making kind of a way, but simply in a like just get together and have a good time. And we had a big camp out, and you did a barbecue the next day and all these things, and it was really, really good. It was just a really good experience. Everybody that was there had an absolute blast, and it really it fueled me to try to do more of that. And then COVID threw a wrench in things for a couple of years there, and we couldn't do anything, and we missed out on basically two sheep counts at Spencis, and now the last couple of years we've been able to get back at it, and kind of dipped our toes in the water again with Spencis, not doing too much with it, but didn't want to make it too big, but wanted to be respectful of the community in Spencis and of Cooks Ferry First Nation, and wanted to just and then also there was a bunch of maybe not negativity, but the fact that the campground we were using was like right beside the train tracks with an what is the word I'm looking for? It was a railway crossing right there where there's no signage or anything for it, and so the trains just honk like crazy right there. And anyone that's ever spent any time in Spencis knows the trains are constant in there, and so not everybody got the best sleep, let's just say, during that night. So we've been like humming and hawing over where we could do this for that Spencis count and have an overnight thing again. And we've got a couple things up our sleeve here for next year, and hopefully we can pull one of them off again. But it's just I found that was a really good place or a really good time. And so yeah, we're kind of expanding that now the last year, and again this year we added the South Thompson sheep monitoring stuff. So we did that differently last year and this year, but this year we pulled off 4 counts. We had one just this past weekend, and the weather was very uncooperative, and so that one didn't really go off. But we got the Fraser River counts that we've done in years past where guys have come out camping, and it's just something that I'm passionate about, is getting people outdoors and looking at nature a little bit, and just something that's totally approachable for the family. And I know in the counts we had up in Kamloops this year, we had families coming out, bringing their young children and bringing the dog, and just having a great time. And you're seeing some sheep, like maybe you don't feel like you're really making a difference. Maybe, I don't know, like, and granted, you're probably not really making that much of a difference, but you're getting some quality time out in nature, and you are collecting some data that scientists are actually using, right? And in the case of the South Thompson stuff, the data is going to Chris Proctor, the regional biologist, and he's incorporating that, and it's also going to Larissa Murdoch, who's a master's student up at Thompson Rivers University, that we're helping fund her stuff. And what they're looking at right now is, invasive species being the major issue for the sheep of Kamloops, right? And like, why have they declined the last 10 years? It's like, well, we're figuring that out, that this is the cause now. And then, I know we get harped on for studying things to death and all that stuff, and every other conservation organization gets that same negative stuff put at them. But at the end of the day, like, that's how we're actually going to get things done in certain places. And in this one, it's like, this is what it is. Like, we've proven that it's not disease stuff. We've proven that predation is not the biggest issue in this particular area, that really the major impact on these sheep is actually an invasive species, an invasive grass. And so now the next step is, how do we figure out how to eradicate that so that we can have these sheep back in these epic numbers that they used to be in, right? And I mean, the Kamloops Lake draw from the limited entry perspective was like the holy grail of sheep tags in BC. And, you look at it now and you're like, man, there's no tags left. Like, where did all the tags go? Well, why did they go? It's like, here's your answer. This is why they're gone, right? The numbers are declined because of this species. So let's figure out how to get rid of this grass, and get these sheep back. and not just so we can hunt them, but like so that everybody can see them and so that they can be thriving on this landscape that they were meant to be thriving on.
Let's be honest, so we can hunt them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like there's some
Just kidding.
massive rams on Kamloops Lake. Like it's the dream of every guy. Like I know I've fortunate enough to have a friend that drew that tag about 10 years ago now, right? And he
cool.
still talks about that hunt. Like he's like, man, like that was so epic to get out there and see a band of 30 rams, like, and go, just like see like multiple stomper rams. Like that's any, that's the dream of all of us, I think, right? Be that for California bighorns or for stone sheep or Dall sheep or Rockies or deserts, whatever, like to go see, and it'd be no different for a mule deer hunter, right? To see like a group of bucks on the mountain somewhere in the early season and be like, man, there's like some big bucks in that group. Like not just, oh, there's one squeaker legal buck. Like, no, like they're thriving up there. That's the dream. Like that's the goal for all of us as conservationists, I think, in the big picture is you want to be able to see these wildlife in big enough numbers and in healthy quality of life that's what they're growing into, be the best that they could possibly be, right? It's no different than what you wish for your children.
Yeah, no, well said. It's interesting with the cheatgrass, and you brought that up now, and was talking to Proctor, and they're what they're doing is they're taking the mapping data where the cheatgrass is. They've got the data, and then they've got the colors from our coloring project, and it's the traditional range of the bighorns in the South Thompson area there, and it's very clear where there's a prevalence of the cheatgrass, there's no sheep, and cheatgrass is like very invasive. It's spreading, and sheep just don't eat it. So it's and then so people are like, oh yeah, burn. Like, yeah, and I get it, yeah, burn. But one thing with cheatgrass, if you burn cheatgrass, it multiplies because all that stuff, it's a ripe environment for it to really establish itself. So actually burning really favors cheatgrass and would in that case be very detrimental. So very interesting project. Lots of good stuff come out. We've invested heavily in it. We put the colors on the sheep. We've done a lot of predation work there, working with the BC trappers. We've done the volunteer work, all that, the sheep counts that you did last year, and the film on the landscape, which we'll talk about more on that down the road, but not today because we're going long. And then we've got invested in 2 MyTax students. So we've got Nisha White's study, which is a traditional ecological study. And then we also have Larissa's study as well, which is a very cool study. And so lots of really good stuff going on there with the South Thompson. It's pretty cool. And you spent how many days did you spend out there last summer?
Oh, I don't recall at this point, but probably between the this year and last year, I'm easily at a month or so in that kind of 3-month window where I'm just out there all the time, and spent a lot of nights at Matt McCabe's house, and thank you to him and his gal Britt for putting up with me and all of that stuff. I had a really good time, and like I learned a ton about the area too. Like I didn't really know much about Kamloops and the sheep around there before this came up. Like I drive through like most people do, and you see sheep on occasion, you kind of know where to go. But now, like I actually really know where to go, and it's all because I spent time on this project. And maybe it's not going to benefit me in a hunting aspect. So what? Like it's still cool that every time I drive through there, if I'm going through on a family road trip, I can be like, hey, let's take a 10-minute detour and go here, and go there, and then chances are we're going to see a bunch of sheep. And that's, to me, that's something that's cool. I again like to just share that stuff with my family and with my friends, and so it all lends itself to that whole, as we talked about at the beginning, like getting people back into nature a little bit and educating them on wildlife. And this coming out on a sheep count's one way that you can actually do something like that. Bring a friend that doesn't know anything about sheep and come on out and we'll look at them for a couple hours. What's the worst that's going to happen? You get a mosquito bite or a suntan. Like you can have a good time.
Yeah, well said. Awesome, brother. Well, let's wrap it up. This has been a lot of fun, and I think we're going to do it again here in a few weeks, get our good friend Ben on and have a good chat with him and catch up with what's going on with his outfitting business and the backcountry and all kinds of stuff there. And we can talk a little bit about the Fraser too, because he's been involved in that Fraser River Test and Remove project. He's been a great proponent of it as well. So, buddy, as always, love you, man. Love what you do, and just so grateful that you're part of our team.
Right on, Kyle. Always a good time chatting with you. Thanks for having me on.